Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So lots of you guys asked me about a tutorial on how to add a shop system in Unity, and that's what we are going to cover in this video. Basically, in the next two parts, I'm going to divide the tutorial into two parts because it's a little bit long. In this first tutorial, we'll be able to switch between different cars using these buttons. And in the next one, we are going to add the buy button and the logic behind it. For example, here we can't click on it because we didn't have enough coins. And if I hit the start button, it's going to select the last or the previous available car. And I can pick up these coins. So if you want to add a coin system or you want to learn about it, I'm gonna add a video under the video description. And now if I go back to the main menu, you see that I can buy this car. Now the button is available. If I click on it, now I have 5 coins, and if I hit start, and I can play with it. So you can apply the same logic in other games. I've already used the same logic inside my Endless Runner game. You could use that if you want to buy weapons or cars or even characters and so on. So without any further ado, let's jump right into it. So first of all, I want to show you the project that I'm currently working on. Basically, I have two scenes, a main menu, which is this main menu with a start button to start the game. And also we have this text that shows the number of coins. So let's hit play to test the game. For now, I have 20 coins and we can't select a car or buy a car as well. We're going to add this logic in the next two parts. So for now, we have this start button. When I hit it, we have this simple racing game. It comes with the standard assets folder or package from the asset store. We have also these coins that you can pick them up. I have 22 coins now, but it is a boring or it's an ugly car with a gray color. So we need to be able to go to the main menu and change the car. And to do that, I've actually downloaded a simple vehicle pack. You can get it on the asset store for free. It contains a bunch of cars. Basically, I'm going to use these three. The red one, which will be the default car, and it's free by default. And also I'm going to use the police and the taxi car as well. So let's go back to the main menu. We need to add these inside this main menu. And to do that, first I'm going to create an empty game object that contains all of the car models using right click, create empty, and let's call it cars container or cars holder. You can call it whatever. Let's go ahead and reset the transform. And then under this package or this pack, we have few prefabs. So I'm going to drag in the red car. I'm going to change the Z position of the cars holder. Let's change it to -6 so that we can see the car much better. And then let's go ahead and add the taxi and the police car as well. Also, I want to create a script that rotates this empty game object around the Y so that we can see the car from the different angles. And to do that, let's go ahead and write a script under the scripts folder. I'm going to use right click, create C# script, and let's call it rotator. We don't need to create this one, so let's just start with this rotator script. And to rotate an object around an axis, we can use the transform.rotate. So inside the update method, let's go ahead and use transform.rotate. We're going to rotate the object around the y-axis. So for the x, I'm going to give it the value 0. And for the y, let's go ahead and use 50. And we need to multiply that by the time, the delta time, to make it frame rate independent. And for the z, let's use 0 as well. So you can leave it like that, or we can declare a variable, a rotation speed variable, for example, using public. And it's going to be a float. And let's call it rotation speed. I'm going to give it the default value 50. And then let's go ahead and use it down here. And let's save the script. Now we need to attach it to the cars holder empty game object. So I'm going to drag in this script. And let's go ahead and hit play to test it. And yeah, it's actually working. You can change the rotation speed from here. I want to change it to -50. I don't know why. So let's change it from here. And now we are going to create a script that will enable only the actual selected car. And to do that, let's go ahead and create another script under this scripts folder using right click, create C# script. I'm gonna call it shop manager. You can call it whatever. And I'm going to attach the script to the cars holder. So let's drag it in here. And then let's open it up. So first we need a reference to the 3D car models. Under here, let's go ahead and create an array using public. And it's gonna be an array of game objects. And to create an array, let's add these brackets. And I'm gonna call it car models. We're going to assign it from the inspector. You can assign it using the code by looping through all of the children inside the empty game object. But I will just assign that from the inspector. And down here, we need to be able to select a specific car. And for that, we need an index. So let's create public int. And let's call that current car index. So if you are using characters, you can call it current character index or whatever. I'm gonna give it the default value 0 for now. And then in the start method, we need to enable the car at the index, current car index, and disable the others. And to do that, it's very simple. We need to loop through all of the car models using for each loop. So for each game object, I'm gonna call it car. In the car models array, I'm going to disable it using car models. It's for each loop, so I'm going to use car dot set active false. And then under here, we need to enable the car at the index, current car index, using the car models array at the index, current car index dot set active, and true for this time. Now, if we hit play, we will see that we have only the red car, which is the first one that is selected. So let's go ahead and test this. First, make sure that the script is attached to this empty game object. And let's hit play. And you notice we have, we have an error actually. We didn't assign the car models, so we have 3 cars. Make sure to drag in these. And we are going to use this order, the red, then the taxi, and finally the police car. And let's hit play again. And yeah, now it's working. You can change the character index from here. Let's use 2. That's the index of the police car. And yeah, it's working. But we need to select that depending on a variable that is stored in a memory location. And for that, we are going to use the player prefs. So player prefs is the easiest way to store variables. And they can be saved. So even if you close the game and go back, you can get the value. So let's go ahead and use that. Instead of assigning this current car index, let's go ahead and use player prefs using current car index equals player prefs dot get int. We can start an int inside using this player prefs. We can store key value pairs, and also we can access them with the name. So the first parameter is the key, which is a string. So I'm gonna call it selected car. You can call it selected character if you have characters, and so on. And the second parameter is the default value, which is 0 in our case. So this is going to check if there is a key with the name selected car in the memory location. And if it exists, it's going to return the stored value. And then we are going to enable the car model at the index, current car index. And if it's not exist, it's going to create that key with the default value 0, and it's also going to return it as well. So now we can save this. And let's go ahead and hit play. Even if you change the current index to 2, it's going to load that from the player prefs, and the default value is 0. That's why you see the red car. Now we need a button so that we can change that variable, and also we need to show the current selected car. And to do that, I'm going to create two buttons, one here and one to go to the previous car. So under this canvas, I'm gonna right click UI, and let's use a button. And let's go ahead and call it next button. Then I'm gonna change its position using Shift Alt. Let's move it over here. And let's change the Y position to -50. And for the X, let's change it to 50. No, -50 as well. Then I'm going to change the width to 60 or maybe 70 by 70 as well. Or maybe that's big, so I'm gonna use 60 by 60. And then I'm going to remove the text. I will use an image. So let's go ahead and change the UI sprite. I'm going to select this one. So this comes with the standard assets. And then for the other button, let's go ahead and use Ctrl D. And let's rename this one to previous button. And also we need to change its position as well. So make sure to change the X position to 50. And for the Y, I'm gonna change it to -50. And then maybe we need to flip this. So I'm gonna change the X scale to -1 to flip it to the other direction. And also we need to change the X position as well. But now these buttons don't do anything. To add a functionality, we need to write functions. So I'm gonna write the function to switch between the cars inside this shop manager as well. So under here, let's declare public. And let's call it first, it's void. And let's call it change next. Or next, you can call it whatever. And to change to the next car, it's very simple. We need to disable the current selected one using car models at the index current car index dot set active false. And then we need to increment this variable using current car index ++. But also we need to check if we go beyond the maximum number of cars, we need to give it back to 0. So we can check if the current car index equals car models dot length. So if it's the case, we need to give it back to 0 using current car index equals 0. And then we need to enable the new car using the same line of code. But we need to change set active to true so that we can enable the new one. Now I can save this, but we have one problem. We're actually changing the current car index variable, but we need to change that inside the database or in a memory location using the player prefs. So down here, let's go ahead and change the selected car key using player prefs. And this time we use set int to set a key. The same thing, it's the same key, which is selected car. And we need to change its value to the current car index. And I think it's gonna work. Let's go ahead and save it. First, we need to select the button. And under here, let's hit this plus icon. And then to use the function, we need to drag in the object. And under the shop manager script, we have the function that we've just created, change next. So let's see if it works. We have the default car that is selected by default. And if I hit this next button, we have the taxi and the police. And if we hit this, we go back to the default one. And also we need to add the same functionality to this one. So I'm gonna go back. We just need to decrement the variable. So I'm gonna use Ctrl C to copy it. And let's paste it down here. I'm gonna call it change previous. We need to decrement this. And down here, we need to check if it's -1. In that case, we need to change the index to the last car index, which is the car models dot length. and we need to add -1. That's because we start from 0 in the arrays. Let's go ahead and save that. Everything is the same. Let's select our previous button and drag in the cars folder, and from the shop manager let's select the change previous function, and now it's gonna work. Let's set display button. I can go to the next car, and also I can switch back. But now if I hit play, you see that we have this gray car as well. So we need to be able to change the car model inside the level scene as well. And to do that, let's go ahead and open up the level. So let's save that. Basically, we have a car model under this scene. Let's select the car, which is this one. And under here, we have the gray car model, which is called a Sky Car. We're going to change this depending on the value of the selected car. We'll use player prefs to load that value. And before that, we need to add the models here as well. We are going to use pretty much the same thing. So I'm going to create an empty game object, and let's call it cars holder. I'm going to reset the transform as well. And let's put our first car inside this empty game object. And we need to change the model. So I'm going to get rid of this one, or let's leave it so that we can check the size. Under this folder, let's drag in the first one, but we need to open this prefab, or I can unpack this prefab using right click prefab and unpack prefab completely. And now I can change the model. So let's drag in this new car. Basically we need to change the scale, so I'm gonna change it to 2, and yeah, it's working. And now I need to disable this or get rid of it. But I have one problem. So the car script, you will not get the same problem if you are working on another project, because this car script need a reference to the wheel meshes. That's why I'm going to add the wheel meshes later. So let's duplicate this 2 times. The second car is the taxi one, so I'm gonna get rid of the red and drag in this one. So make sure that the order is the same as inside the main menu. So the second one is the taxi. And let's change the scale as well. And finally, we have the police car. Now that we have our empty game object with all of the cars, so we need to create a script that will enable the current selected car. So I'm gonna go under the scripts folder, and let's create a new one using right click create C# script. I'm gonna call it car selector. Inside the script, I'm going to use the same lines of code down here. So I'm gonna copy all of these and let's paste them down here inside this car selector script. Basically, we need the current car index. We will load that index from the player prefs using player prefs get int selected car. Then we are going to disable all of the car models, not the car models actually. So I'm gonna call it it's actually the car with the script and so on. So I'm gonna call it cars, and then we need to disable all of these using this for each loop, except the car at the index, current car index. So this is actually the car object from here. So let's save that and use the script. I'm gonna attach the car selector script, and we have 3 cars. Make sure the order is the same. So I'm gonna drag in the first one, the second, and the police car. Now let's go ahead and go back to our main menu and check if everything is working. So let's hit play, and there you have it. We can select different cars. For example, let's select the police one, and if I hit play, we have the police car selected as well, and also we can play around. So I hope you enjoyed this video. In the next video we are going to add the shop logic, so we'll be able to buy a car, and we will not be able to select a car if we didn't buy it. For now I can select any one of these and hit play. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any question or comment, make sure to write it under the comment section down below. Also make sure to hit the subscribe button and ring the notifications bell so that you don't miss any one of my next videos. And I will see you in the next one.